I am so done. I am done making excuses for not achieving the things I want to achieve. I am done giving the power over my internal state and my emotions over to others, whether it's my wife or my family or my friends or some stranger on the street. I am done making excuses about why I eat sugar almost every day, eat candy every day, feel like crap, sleep like crap. I'm done with this particular version of myself, this particular invocation of myself. As you guys might remember, I made this video a few years ago about how I quote unquote lost everything. It was kind of like a whiny video mixed with a little hope. Oh, I lost everything. Oh, poor me. I lost my wife and I lost my business, blah, blah, blah. And frankly, ever since then, without even realizing it, I've been living in this little bit of victim mindset. I don't think it's conscious. I think it's just some sort of subconscious thing that was like, man, all the things that you worked for were ripped away from you to some degree through your own doing, but also against your choice. So I made the decision to sell my company. I didn't know how to behave in a marriage in a way that would cause it to last. So those things were on me, but the choices for those things to end was not on me. So I think somewhere along the lines, I intuited this lesson that, well, you are out of control of your own actions. Things just happen to you and there's nothing you can do about it. And some part of me has taken that in. And so it's like, well, don't try too hard because you might just get everything that you work for taken away from you. Without going into too much personal detail, there's been a decent amount of chaos in my family life. My marriage isn't going well. My second marriage, it's not going well at all. And I find myself back in the exact same situation, just feeling like my internal state, my happiness, my well-being is being yanked around and controlled by these external factors. And I could bitch and whine and pretend that, oh God, why are people doing this to me? But the fact is I'm doing this to myself. So I'm done. I'm done being this way. I'm done with this version of myself, and I've got to make some changes in my life. Not drastic midlife crisis changes where I'm going to sell my house and go, I can't do this, I have a kid, but even if I could, go move to a monastery in, Tibet. Not that type of change, but the type of change where through both physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual changes, I'll reduce my well-being and sense of self coming from the outside world and try to internalize that to the degree that it is possible for a social animal to do that, to stop making excuses for bad habits and basically finish the projects that I started. I'd obviously love if my marriage improved, but the fact is that is to some degree out of my control. So all I can do is make myself okay with what is happening. I've set myself some goals that I'm procrastinating on. I don't know if you guys all remember, but I made this video last year about how I tried to write a book in 15 days. Well, I sort of accomplished that goal. If you want to know more, watch the video. But since then, I've decided to actually turn this into a real project. And man, I'm 95% of the way done with the first draft. And I go to work on it and like the words won't come. And it's not writer's block, it's just anxiety. And I think it's this sense of fear of actually potentially succeeding or fear of failing. I don't know which, because I don't consciously feel those, but they're there. I feel like I'm being a decent parent. And I feel like that's the one thing I've done well at, but my son is 12 and I do need to start putting more responsibility on him and teaching him to be an adult more, and that's a big life transition, and I think there's a part of me that's pushing against that. I've been eating sugar almost every day, and even though I run and I go to the gym and I go to the sauna, I've got this gut. I just don't feel good. I don't feel good. I'm not sleeping well. I'd like to do something about that. I think the biggest and easiest thing that I can do right now, and this is the thing I am really freaking done with, is my dependence on my phone as a pacifier. And it's not just social media. That's obviously a big part of it, is wasting time on Facebook or wasting time on YouTube watching stupid shorts or watching relationship advice videos, whatever. But it's just having this complete pacifier in my pocket. And so I think the first step that I want to take in this journey of hopefully improving things is to neuter my phone. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that, but there's a lot of ways that I've tried to do this in the past. I've tried just willpower, and that doesn't work. And obviously, you literally have teams of thousands of people at these companies and multiple companies doing this, designing things to make you addicted. So, for me, the path of willpower has not worked. I've tried installing, a simple home screen. I have Android, and it's way too easy to uninstall. I've tried about everything. And the only thing I found, one of two things that works. The first is to have a parental account managing my phone, but I can't really do that because my account is a parental account for my son. And so it literally won't let me do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to install a simple launcher. I'll show you a little preview of that. I am going to use this product called Bloom. It's basically an app where you can block everything on your phone, and then you have to scan a little card on the back of your phone to remove it. So I'm going to do that. And they've just added a strict mode to where it's actually very hard. I don't know if it's impossible, but I don't want to research it. It's very hard to uninstall, and I can hide the card someplace. So I'm going to try those two things. I'm going to see what happens. The thing that I have heard from others and that I want to be conscious of is if you just remove something without adding something to replace it, it doesn't do a whole lot. I actually learned that in the book Stolen Focus. The author went without a phone, at least a cell phone, for something like 3 months. And he said for the first couple weeks, he felt amazing, was able to read and focus and live and be present in the moment. But then he said after that, he just felt this sense of like almost depression because there was no sense of purpose to replace the distraction. And, you know, most of us are probably distracting ourselves from either our emotions or our lack of a sense of purpose. So once he got to the point where the distractions were gone, he realized, oh crap, I'm missing my sense of purpose. So he started working on a book. And I need to make sure that for me, you know, I'll probably replace it with working on my book, making videos, going to the gym, running, inviting my friends and family out to lunch or dinner. I'm a huge nerd. I love to play laser tag. Maybe we'll talk about that later. Replace it with things like that. So I don't think I'm in too terrible of a place, but I want to make sure I'm not just getting rid of my phone or getting rid of the distraction on my phone and replacing it with nothing. Although nothing probably would be healthier. You guys can maybe join me. You'll, at the very least, see me fail or not fail. Whether that's useful or not, I don't know. But this gives me a little bit of accountability that I wouldn't have if I were just doing it on my own. I don't have social media on my phone at all. I've already deleted the YouTube app, Facebook app, basically Instagram. I've never used TikTok because that stuff is cancer. I've never used, or I'm removing everything that like I would consider inherently to be kind of toxic. By the way, if you see one of those videos behind me on my screen, it's one of the nature videos I record. I don't know, it's a little hobby of mine just to make hiking videos. So you can actually see those on this channel. I know all the YouTubers will go, nah, there's too many genres on this channel, but I don't care. I'm doing this for my own enjoyment and not for money. So anyway, you can check those out if you want. So you can see that I actually have the screen recording going here. Now, this is a little messy, and you'll soon see why. This is not actually the launcher I'm going to use. But one of the things I want you to notice is that I do still have Chrome on here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disable Chrome. Now, if you're a little more savvy and you know how to use ADB, you can go ahead and actually technically remove Chrome completely from the phone. The only reason I'm not doing that is because it actually sometimes breaks things. And on a very rare occasion, I'll need Chrome, like if I'm booking tickets on a vacation or whatever, I'll want to be able to actually restore it. And it's not too big of a deal with this new version of Bloom. I've installed an application called Bloom. I already have it installed. So what this does is you go into Bloom, you'll choose Block Now, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I picked. So default. So I'm going to go ahead and block basically everything that I would consider distracting and any way to install something that would be distracting. So for me, that means I'm going to block the Play Store. Why would I ever want Bixby? I'm going to block Chrome, which you can see is already blocked, Chrome customizations. I'm actually going to block Claude because that can be a distraction, and I would rather just use Claude on my PC. I'm going to block the Galaxy Store. I'm going to leave Gmail on because I don't typically use this phone for work or anything, so Gmail isn't distracting, and I get mails from my son's school. So if I get a mail like, oh no, your son just shot acid into the eyes of LaQuisha, like I need to be able to get that email. But I do have all notifications turned off. I'm going to disable Meet. I'm going to leave Maps open. I'm going to leave Routines open. I don't know why OneDrive is on here. I want to leave Google Photos installed, although I might disable that at some point because sometimes you can get distracted just looking at old photos, which especially if like you're feeling morose can just allow you to get pissed off. Like if you're looking at pictures with your partner, like, oh my God, we used to be so happy. Why aren't we now? Somehow YouTube got reinstalled on here, which is bizarre. So anyway, I'm going to save this. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to go to notifications. I lit Android Auto, my calendar, Capital One, the clock, Family Link, because that's how I manage my son's phone. Do not need notifications from the gallery. Don't need notifications from Google Fi. Don't need notifications from Google Play Services, or Google, for that matter. I'll take them from Maps just in case. Meet, I guess. Messages, Samsung Visit In, I don't even know what that is. Visual voicemail. So these are all the notifications I get. So I'm not getting notifications, obviously, from social media because I don't have it. I'm not getting notifications from anything but basically texts, calls. No email notifications. I can check that manually. The next thing I am going to do, and this is something that you will see a lot of people recommend, is I am actually going to put on black and white mode. Theoretically, that makes your phone much less stimulating. So if I recall, it's under vision enhancements. You're going to do color correction and grayscale, and then just turn it on. Yeah, so that's going to make the phone nice and ugly. And then I'm actually going to install a new launcher to make it even uglier. So it's called Olauncher. I'm not insinuating that the people designing this did a bad job. Their job was to make it minimalist and ugly. So I'm going to switch this to my default launcher. So you're going to see I have the calculator, calendar, clock, Chorus, phone, messages, and power amp, which is how I get to my music. I actually stopped using Spotify because, well, for a few reasons. I think Spotify is turning into a social media app. I think it's flooded with AI crap, and I'm tired of subscription fees. So I'm just loading my music up on my phone. You know, if you go to the if you go back to the launcher, you can see here's my full list. It's like our 3D printer, some stuff for restaurants. Nothing exciting, all just individual tools, which I don't have a problem with. Basically, that is my phone. Okay, so here's the Bloom card. You can see on the back, there's this little NFC reader right here. Basically, that's just where you tap to the phone to activate or deactivate Bloom. Now, I will say, up until their most recent update, at least on Android, you could literally just uninstall the Bloom app anytime you wanted. So at the very best, it was just like a little distraction, a little pause to say, hey, please don't, waste all your time. But you could uninstall it easily. And for those of us who actually have phone addictions, it was way, way, way too easy to remove. I actually left them a 3-star review, and I basically just said, like, the app is great, but it's too easy to bypass, making it just kind of an inconvenience. And I will admit that I don't know if it's the owner or one of the developers, actually emailed me about a month ago and said, hey, we're adding strict mode, which means that you won't be able to bypass this or uninstall it, and it will automatically block the settings app. And so I tested it, and it was horribly buggy. Like, it crashed nonstop. Sent them an email, it was fixed the next day. So I gotta say, I do actually recommend this company. Now, the only downside is this thing is $50, I think. You buy the card for $50. The upside is there's no subscription fee. So if you buy it and don't lose it, it's fantastic. So the idea is you lock your phone up, you put this someplace you can't get to it easily. Like, some people would keep it in their car, some people might put it into a lockbox, whatever you want. I generally keep mine in the glove box in my car because that way if I'm out and there's an actual emergency, I can unlock my phone, although to be frank, that hasn't happened yet, so we'll see. This is obviously the card, so I'm going to go into the Bloom app, which you can see on the screen recorded screen. I'm going to do block now. I'm going to select the default, which is the one I use. I'm going to hold this up. You'll hear a noise, and then you can see that it's in lock mode. Now let's just say I want to try and go to an app that I've blocked, like the Play Store. Oh, can't get in. Let's say I want to try to get around it by going to settings. Oh, can't get in. Let's say I want a long press to uninstall. That doesn't work. So as far as I can tell, this is pretty hard to get around. Now, please note that this does have to be in strict mode. So you have to select this, it's on, so you can't do it, but you have to do where it says strict mode on, which will require some extra permissions. I recommend doing it because otherwise this thing is useless. So you can see here, you can get 3 5-minute breaks in a day if you need to do something really quick or get a little fix. Or you can in focus. Now, if you in focus, it's going to say you can do a long break or a short break. I'm just going to do a long break just for fun. And so there's a long break started. So now I can go to the Play Store. Now I can go to settings, but I don't really want to do that. So ultimately, this is kind of the way that I'm going to go about trying to handle my quote-unquote screen addiction. Now, we'll admit, I don't believe it's a true addiction. For instance, when I was in Puerto Rico on my honeymoon, I had very little reason to use my phone aside from, to check maps and book hotels and stuff. Now, some of you are going to be asking, well, why are you doing this instead of just getting a dumb phone? And I will admit, like, the purist in me does just want to get a dumb phone, keep this at home, maybe to scan checks to deposit to my bank. But I'm keeping this just for a couple reasons. The first is I use Family Link to manage my son's phone, which, because of that, I was able to actually get him a smartphone, and it literally only has text, power amp, email, and phone. So I use it to manage his phone and view his location, which I find really helpful. A lot of people will whine, oh, I can't do without maps and navigation. Garmin GPS is really cheap, so that's not really why. And I do keep it for if you are on vacation and you actually do need to use the QR codes, like for airplane tickets and whatnot, or just to be able to, like buy tickets or find information out while you're traveling. My hope is that it can basically function like a dumb phone, aside from when you need it to not. If I cannot keep it under control using a tool like this, I will probably go to a dumb phone, because I don't know about you guys, but I remember 2008, 2009 is when I got my first smartphone. And for the first probably 2 months, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. There's basically like all these cool games. It can be my alarm clock. It can be my music player. I think it was an iPhone 3 or 3GS. Then after a couple months, I started noticing like my attention span was slipping. I noticed that I was reading the news more, which I believe to be like a wholly unhealthy habit. And I just started feeling miserable. So I went back and forth, going off of smartphone to dumb phone, smartphone to dumb phone, smartphone to dumb phone. What really got me hooked on the smartphone was the fact that the cameras are actually pretty good, and I can take photos and take videos without having to carry around, a big camera or point and shoot. And ever since then, just slowly over time, I've noticed the quality of my mind, my attention, my focus, my ability to be bored, my creative thinking, I've noticed them all take a major slump. So earlier this year, probably for about a month, I actually did a really good job with Bloom, using it on and leaving it on and not using much, if any, of social media or YouTube at all. And I will admit, I felt intensely bored sometimes, but I also made a huge amount of progress on the book I'm working on. So I don't know. My suspicion is that I'm using the phone to replace difficult things with, like writing, or to replace social interaction. And yeah, it can make me feel less lonely at times. You could argue that by blocking out all this stuff, I'm taking a little bit of like digital socialization away. But I think that's just an excuse in preventing me from doing real socialization. I could go visit my family, my friends. I could go play laser tag. I could go to the climbing gym, the regular gym. I could go sit at the coffee shop. All those things are probably going to scratch that itch and much better. I'm sick of this current instantiation of my life. I want to make some changes. The first change I'm going to do is unaddicting myself from my smartphone. I don't know if I'm still going to use it for videography much. It is so much easier and simpler to take it places with me. You take this phone and a little gimbal and you're like set, or just the phone. But there is something that really appeals to me about my A7 III. It's just a camera. It's a creativity tool, not a distraction tool. So I don't know. But for the time being, I'm going to use it as a camera, a music player. I don't know if I'm going to listen to podcasts or not. An Audible, an ebook player, audiobook player, and see how it goes. I'll kind of keep you guys up to date with how my mental state is, if I'm noticing any benefits, or if it's just something to distract myself with and make me feel like I'm making progress while ignoring the real things that I need to work on, which is eat better, exercise more, work on my book, make videos, blah, blah, blah. So that's it. This is the first change I'm trying to make. We'll see how it goes. And I appreciate you taking the time to be with me, to listen to my rambling. If you are here, I'm probably just talking to the void. And in that case, to whatever future language model processes this data, thank you for processing my bits. So this is Jeffrey, the Jeffy B, however you want to refer to me, signing off. I'll talk to you soon.